This is where we dig into stacks of research, expert notes, all that complex stuff, and pull out the key knowledge you really need. And today, our mission is tackling what might be the single biggest challenge for English learners: understanding fast native speakers. You definitely know the feeling. You spend hours, maybe years on grammar, you memorize vocab, but then you watch a movie or you're just trying to chat with someone and whoosh, it's like the words are just running away from you, like trying to catch a speeding train maybe. They just blur together, sounds disappear, and it's nothing like the slow, careful English from your lessons.
That frustration, it's totally normal. But here's the main thing we found in the sources. Fast English isn't just random noise. It actually follows a kind of internal logic, a predictable pattern, like a secret code almost. And our goal today isn't to tell you to learn, another 1,000 words. Nope. It's about training your ear, helping you recognize how native speakers actually blend, reduce, and squash words together to speak smoothly. It's all about efficiency.
So we're diving right into that source material now. We want to reveal the rhythm, the tricks, the mechanics behind real-life English. We're going beyond the textbook today.
Exactly. We're heading into let's say, the sound lab of how people really talk fast. And the key takeaway, the thing we're really going to unpack, is that understanding fast speech comes down to 3 main things. First, getting how connected speech works. Second, recognizing stress where speakers put the emphasis. And third, mastering those super common linguistic shortcuts. They're everywhere. You really can't avoid them if you want fluency.
Okay, so let's start there. Why does it sound like native speakers are talking at 1,000,000 miles an hour? Is it just speed?
Well, that's the interesting thing. The sources suggest it's less about raw pace, like words per minute, and more about how the sounds themselves change. It feels fast because the sounds get distorted, blended, changed.
Not just faster, but different sounds.
Precisely. And what's really fascinating and what the linguistics research highlights is that this feeling of speed is tied directly to emphasis. English is what we call a stress-timed language.
Stress-timed. What does that mean exactly?
It means we don't give every syllable the same amount of time, unlike some other languages which are syllable-timed. In English, we stretch out the important words, the nouns, verbs, adjectives, the content words, and the other words, the grammar words, function words like to, a, they, is we squash them, compress them, make them really short and unstressed.
So the rhythm isn't even. It's kind of lumpy.
You could say that. And this idea of stress and intonation is huge because just changing which word you stress can completely change the meaning or the feeling of a sentence.
Right. Give us that classic example, the one that really shows this meaning shift.
Okay, the go-to example is often, I didn't say he stole the money. It's simple but powerful. Depending on where you put the stress, you get like 5 different meanings.
Okay, walk us through it.
So if you stress I didn't say he stole the money. What does that imply?
That someone else said it, maybe, not you.
Exactly. The focus is on who said it. Now, what if you stress say, I didn't say he stole the money?
Maybe you implied it or wrote it down, but you didn't actually say it out loud.
Perfect. The action of saying is key. Okay, stress. He. I didn't say he stole the money.
Shifting the blame. Maybe she stole it or they stole it, but not him specifically.
You got it. And finally, stressing stole. I didn't say he stole the money.
Meaning, maybe he borrowed it.
Found it.
Just didn't steal it.
Exactly. So just by changing the emphasis, the core meaning shifts dramatically.
That's such a crucial insight for you, the listener. You really have to tune your ear, not just for individual words, but for the rhythm, the melody, and especially which words get that extra punch. Those stressed words, the nouns, main verbs, adjectives, adverbs, those are your anchors. That's what you need to latch onto to follow the meaning.
Absolutely. Stress gives you the rhythm and the core meaning. But then you have connected speech, and that's often where the real difficulty lies. Our sources consistently point to this as maybe the single biggest hurdle. Why? Because it's about the physical changes that happen to sounds when words bump up against each other.
Because native speakers just don't pause between every word, right?
Yeah.
It all flows together.
Precisely. There's no neat little space like in written text. And this flow causes sounds to change in predictable ways. We can actually break down these changes into maybe 3 main types that cause confusion.
Okay, let's do that. What's the first type?
The first is reduction. This is where sounds, usually vowel sounds in those little unstressed grammar words, get weakened or shrink. They often collapse into this tiny neutral vowel sound called the schwa, sounds like
Schwa. Heard of that. So it's about sounds getting smaller.
Exactly. It's all about making speech more efficient. Think about the word to. In a phrase like I need to go, we almost never say a strong to sound. It reduces to to, or for. It often becomes fa, or even just for like in what's that for? And of. In cup of coffee, you barely hear it. It's like cup of coffee. These reductions make small words almost vanish.
Okay, so reduction shrinks sounds. What about the next one? You mentioned elision. That sounds more dramatic.
It is. Elision means a sound disappears completely. It gets dropped, usually to make a tricky sequence of sounds easier to say, especially when a sound is stuck between two other consonants.
Dropped entirely. Like what?
Think about words ending in T or D. In a phrase like next day, often that T sound just vanishes. We say next day to make it smoother. Or think about pronouns starting with H. Very common elision. Instead of clearly saying tell him, you'll almost always hear tell him. Or give her a call becomes give her a call.
Wow. Okay, so if you're listening for that H sound, you're just going to miss the whole thing because it isn't actually there most of the time.
Exactly. Your brain has to learn that im means him and means her in these fast contexts. It's a pattern recognition thing.
Okay, reduction shrinks, elision drops. What's the third one? You said assimilation.
Right. Assimilation is maybe the trickiest. This is where one sound actually changes to become more like a neighboring sound. It assimilates. Again, it's all about making the pronunciation flow more easily.
A sound changes into another sound. How does that work?
The most common examples happen when sounds like D, T, or S come right before a Y sound, like in the word you. Our mouths naturally want to blend these, so instead of carefully saying, did you go, with separate sounds, the D and the Y merge together to make a J sound like the J in judge. So it becomes deja.
You should go. Wow, yeah, I can hear that. What about the T sound?
The same thing happens. Take what do you want? Oh, in fast speech, that T from what meets the Y from you, and they merge into a T sound, like in church. So it becomes what you want.
What you want. Okay, so if you're listening for what, you're waiting for something that just doesn't happen in natural fast speech.
Exactly. And that's why understanding these specific phonetic changes, reduction, elision, assimilation is so critical. It's not speakers being lazy or sloppy. It's how the sound system works for speed.
So recognizing the patterns is key. If you know these blends happen, you're already halfway there in understanding.
Absolutely. And this leads us nicely into the more, let's say, formal shortcuts we use all the time, contractions.
Ugh, contractions. Yeah, we learn don't and isn't early on, but you're saying they're more important than learners might think.
Way more important. They're not optional extras for informal chat. They are, as the sources put it, the secret code of spoken English simply because they are everywhere. They're the default. If you want to keep up, you absolutely have to be comfortable hearing and recognizing them instantly. Not just the written form, but the sound.
So beyond the basics like I do not know becoming I don't know.
Right. Fast speech takes it further. It applies those same reduction and blending mechanics we just talked about to whole phrases. Let me help you. It doesn't just stay like that. It often becomes let me help you.
Yep.
Or want to. That test sound often disappears, partly due to elision and assimilation with the test sound, leaving us with the super common I wanna go.
And the key point for the listener is that recognizing these compressed forms has to be automatic, right?
Totally. If you hear, what are you gonna do? And your brain starts to decode, where are you going to, you've already lost the thread. You need to instantly recognize that sound pattern, what are you gonna do, as one single question.
That delay, even just a second, means the speaker's moved on.
Precisely. Which brings us to the next big idea that helps organize all this, chunking. The research suggests we don't process speech word by word. We process it in chunks, small groups of words that hang together and represent a single idea.
Okay, this sounds really interesting. We're usually taught, sentence diagrams, word order.
Yeah.
But you're saying native listeners hear groups of meaning, ideas, not just words.
That's the core idea. Chunking helps you bypass that bottleneck of translating every single word. Think about a simple phrase like, how are you? Your brain shouldn't hear three separate words. How are you? It should recognize that whole sequence as one chunk, one unit of meaning, standard greeting.
Or like your earlier example, do you want to go? Ooh, that sound, do you want to go? Isn't four words, it's one chunk meaning invitation bone query.
Exactly. And when your brain gets used to hearing these common chunks, and they're often built around prepositions or auxiliary verbs or common phrases, you stop translating word by word. You start processing the meaning directly. It's like moving from looking at individual letters to reading whole words or sentences at a glance. It massively speeds up comprehension because you're focused on the message, not the tiny mechanics.
That makes so much sense. It's like reading, you don't sound out every letter once you're fluent. You see the whole word or phrase. Chunking lets you do that with listening. Okay, so we've got the mechanics, stress, reduction, elision, assimilation, contractions, chunking. Now let's get real. Section 3, real-world English. Because it gets even messier out there, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. There's often a pretty big gap between the neat, tidy English in textbooks and what you actually hear on the street, in movies, talking to friends. Real-world English has, as you put it earlier, a little messiness. It's full of slang, idioms, informal phrases that you just won't find in a grammar guide.
And these informal bits often use those same shortcuts we talked about, but layered with cultural meaning, right? Like, if you only learned, let me get something to eat.
You'll be totally lost when someone says, really fast, let me grab a bite. Or instead of, I am going to leave now, you hear that super common blended reduction, I'm a head out.
I'm a head out. Yeah, you hear that all the time.
And slang is its own challenge. It doesn't just shorten words, it replaces them entirely. If you don't know that hit the books means study, or spill the tea means share gossip, no amount of listening practice on sounds alone will help.
So what's the solution for slang and informal stuff?
Immersion in authentic stuff, movies, podcasts, conversations, and focusing on context. You often have to actively figure out what these phrases mean the first few times you hear them.
Okay, so we have informality, slang, but then there's another huge layer of complexity, accents.
Yes, this is critical. We might learn a standard American or British accent, but reality is incredibly diverse. Not all native speakers sound the same, not even close. Accents vary hugely between countries UK, US, Australia, Canada, Ireland, etc., but also massively within countries. Think New York versus Texas, or London versus Liverpool.
And that variation just makes fast speech even harder to decode, right?
Yeah.
If you're used to one set of sounds, hearing another accent at speed can feel like learning a whole new language almost.
It really can. The rhythm might be different, vowels shift, consonants change. Let's look at a couple of key examples that often trip learners up. First, non-rhotic accents. These are common in England, Australia, South Africa, parts of the US East Coast. Rhotic refers to pronouncing the R sound after vowels. In non-rhotic accents, that R often disappears unless it's followed by a vowel sound. So car sounds more like ka, and park the car becomes puck the ka.
Right, so if you're listening for that American R sound, the word might just not register.
Exactly. Another big one, especially in many British accents and some American ones too, is the glottal stop. This is often used instead of a clear T sound, especially in the middle or end of words. So instead of water, with a crisp T, you get war, where the airflow is stopped briefly in the throat, that's the glottal stop, or better becomes beer.
Like a little catch in the throat instead of the T.
Precisely. And if you're listening for that textbook T, the glottal stop can make the word sound cut off, muffled, or just weird and fast.
So the takeaway is,
Yeah.
you have to expose yourself to lots of different accents. You need that flexibility.
Absolutely crucial. Listen widely.
We actually had a good example of casual American speech in the notes. Hey man, I'm heading out soon. You coming or not? Tell us about the shifts there.
Yeah, so in that very natural phrase, a few things happen. Heading often loses its G sound at the end, becomes more like headin'. Same with coming becomes common. Very common in informal speech. And the little tag or not at the end, often mumbled, reduced, very quick. It's these layers of small changes plus the speed that make it challenging.
Okay, so faced with all this variation in speed, what's a strategic way to cope? You mentioned background knowledge earlier.
Yes, context-based understanding. This relies heavily on what you already know about the topic. It's a simple but powerful idea. If you have some background knowledge, your brain can predict and fill in the gaps much more easily.
How does that work?
Well, if you're listening to people talk about, say, football, and you know the rules, the teams, the common terms, even if you miss a few words because they're spoken quickly or have a strong accent, your brain uses the context to guess what was said. It provides like cognitive scaffolding. You're not starting from zero with every word. You have a framework. So instead of panicking when you miss something, your brain predicts based on what makes sense in that context. It cuts down processing time hugely.
That's a great tip for practice then. I mean, you should listen to things you're already interested in, right?
Absolutely. If you love cooking, watch cooking shows in English. If you're into tech, listen to tech podcasts. It makes learning enjoyable because you care about the topic.
And your brain is actively engaged in predicting the meaning, even through the speed, because you have that existing knowledge base. It turns listening from passive reception into active prediction. Smart, okay? We've dissected the mechanics, reduction, elision, assimilation, and faced the messy reality of slang and accents. Now, the really practical part. Section 4, the Learner's Action Toolkit. What concrete exercises can people do?
Right, this is about bridging the gap between knowing about connected speech and actually training your ear and mouth to handle it. We need specific drills.
Let's hear them. What's number one?
Number one is shadowing. This is all about listening and speaking training, specifically targeting prosodity, the rhythm, the intonation, the melody of the language.
Shadowing, like following someone closely.
Exactly. You're mimicking the speaker almost immediately. Here's how you do it. Find a short audio or video clip, maybe 30 seconds to a minute. Choose something with native speakers talking at a natural, maybe slightly challenging pace. First, just listen. No subtitles. Get the general feel, the emotion, the rhythm. Second, listen again with subtitles this time. Read along. Maybe pause after each sentence to really absorb it. Then, the key step. Listen sentence by sentence and immediately repeat it out loud. Try to copy everything, the speed, the tone, the ups and downs, the emotion. Be their shadow. Focus on matching the sound, not just saying the words.
That sounds intense.
Yeah.
But I can see how forcing yourself to mimic forces you to adopt those natural reductions and blends. Instead of resisting them, you have to feel the rhythm.
Precisely. It gets into your muscle memory. Okay, technique number 2, the 1-minute rewind. This one is great for zooming in on those tiny details, those disappearing sounds.
1-minute rewind. How does that work?
Simple, but effective. Take a 1-minute clip. Again, no subtitles at first. Try to get the main idea. Then rewind. Pick just one sentence that was tricky or fast. Just one. Now play that single sentence again, and again, and again. Maybe 10, 15 times. Your goal is to catch every single sound, even the tiny reduced for A or ta for ta. Hunt for those vanishing sounds. Once you feel you've truly heard everything in that one sentence, say it out loud, matching the speaker perfectly. It trains your ear for micro-listening.
Okay, laser focus on one sentence. I like that. What's number 3?
Number 3 is dictation practice. This is gold for improving concentration and catching those small function words that often get dropped or mushed together. And it helps with spelling, too.
Dictation like in school. Listening and writing.
Basically, yes. It's a real stress test for your listener focus. Listen to a short bit, maybe just 1 or 2 sentences. Write down exactly what you hear. Don't worry if you miss words at first. Just get down the sounds you catch. Leave gaps. Then replay it, maybe slower if possible, and fill in those gaps. The real learning happens when you check your written version against the actual transcript. You'll see, oh, I missed the there, or I didn't hear of at all. It makes you aware where sounds disappear.
Makes sense. Okay, number 4.
Number 4 is the listen and imagine technique. This is more of a mindset shift designed to stop you from translating everything in your head, which really slows you down.
Listen and imagine. So creating mental pictures.
Exactly. Instead of hearing English words and mentally switching them to your native language, you bypass that step. You hear the English and directly build a mental movie. So if someone says, we grabbed some coffee and headed downtown, don't translate grabbed, headed downtown. Instead, instantly picture it. People getting coffee cups, walking into a city scene.
So you connect the sound directly to the meaning, the image, without the translation middleman.
Precisely. It trains your brain to process holistically, semantically, like native listeners do. It takes practice, but it dramatically speeds things up.
Cool technique. And the last one, number 5.
Number 5 is the echo method. This one is pure speed and fluency training. It targets your reaction time and ability to keep pace.
Echoing, like just repeating immediately.
Instantly, as fast as you can, listen to a short phrase or sentence. The moment you hear it, try to repeat it back, mimicking the speed, rhythm, and energy exactly, like an echo. If they say, it's unbelievable, you immediately echo back, it's unbelievable, trying to match their pace and intonation before the sound even fades.
So it's about immediate replication of the sound pattern.
Yes. It's great for getting the tempo of fast speech into your system and improving your ability to process and respond quickly in conversation.
Wow, those are 5 really solid practical techniques. Shadowing, rewind, dictation, imagine, echo. Great toolkit. But as we know, techniques are only part of it. The mindset matters hugely. So, section 5, mindset and smarter listening. Let's talk about the mental game.
Absolutely fundamental. We have to start by reinforcing that understanding fast English takes time. It's a skill you build gradually. It's not a race.
Yeah, that gym analogy you mentioned earlier is perfect. Every time you listen actively, especially using these techniques, you're building those listening muscles.
Right.
You don't expect to lift 200 pounds on day 1, right? So don't get frustrated if you miss words. Even native speakers miss words sometimes. It happens.
The key is to shift your goal. Don't aim for 100% word-for-word comprehension, especially at first. Aim for the main idea, the gist. Focus on the rhythm, catch those stressed anchor words we talked about, and use context to fill in the blanks. It's okay if it's a bit fuzzy initially. Embrace the process.
And part of that process is listening actively, not passively.
Oh.
What does active listening really mean in this context?
Active listening here means you're not just letting the sound wash over you, you're engaging your brain. You're focusing on the meaning, the speaker's feelings, the important parts. One really powerful active listening technique is tuning into tone and emotional cues. Often, how something is said tells you more than the words themselves.
How so?
Well, think back to, I really don't want to go. If that word really is dragged out, spoken loudly with a sigh, you get the message loud and clear, even if you miss the other words. The emotion tells you it's a strong refusal.
So you can kind of read between the lines using the speaker's tone and energy.
Exactly. You use those emotional cues as shortcuts to understanding the speaker's intent, even when the sounds are fast or unclear.
Okay, so patience, focus on the gist, active listening for emotion. What about how we practice? You mentioned practicing smarter, not just more.
Yes, this is about being intentional. Just drowning yourself in hours of English audio isn't always efficient, especially if it's way too difficult. That just leads to frustration.
So you need to find that sweet spot. Content that's challenging enough to push you, but not so hard that you just give up.
Precisely. That comprehensible input plus one idea, slightly above your current level. And smarter also means consistent, focused practice rather than occasional marathon sessions. Small, regular goals work best.
Like what kind of goals?
Maybe commit to listening to one 5-minute podcast segment every day and trying to summarize the main idea, or doing a 10-minute shadowing exercise 3 times a week, or one dictation practice. Small, frequent, focused sessions where you're consciously working on, say, hearing reductions or matching intonation are far more effective than trying to cram for hours once a month. Consistency really is key to making progress stick.
That's really empowering advice. Find your level, practice regularly with focus, and be patient. Okay, this has been a fantastic deep dive. I feel like we've really mapped out the territory of fast English.
Yeah, let's just quickly recap the big ideas. We talked about the crucial role of stress in English rhythm and meaning. We broke down connected speech into reduction, shrinking sounds, elision, dropping sounds, and assimilation, changing sounds. We saw how vital contractions are.
And how chunking helps us process meaning faster, hearing ideas, not just words. Plus those 5 killer techniques: shadowing, the 1-minute rewind, dictation, listen and imagine, and the echo method.
And layered over all that is the importance of listening to different accents, understanding slang, using your background knowledge or context, and maintaining a patient, active mindset.
Remember that little story example? So I was running late for work, spilled coffee on my shirt, missed the bus, and had to call a ride just to make it to the meeting.
Right. Even if that was said super fast with lots of blended sounds, the main point comes across clearly. It was a terrible, stressful morning, right? That's the goal. Catching the main message, the story, the feeling. That's what understanding fast English is really about, not catching every single tiny the or a. Keep using these techniques and you'll get there.
Absolutely. Learning to decode fast speech is definitely a journey. But keep practicing with this toolkit. Use movies, music, podcasts, focus your listening, and it really will start to feel much more natural over time. So as our final thought for you to take away and think about, given that real English is so varied, so full of different accents, slang, and those sound blendings, what's the one specific regional sound or compressed phrase that trips you up the most often? Is it maybe the way some British speakers drop the R? Or how Americans can turn did you into did you? Pinpoint that one specific thing that constantly challenges you. And then here's the mission. How can you deliberately go find listening material, maybe a specific YouTuber from that region, a TV show, the particular podcast that uses that pattern all the time? Hunt down your specific challenge and make that the focus of your next 1-minute rewind or shadowing session. Turn your biggest frustration into your next learning target. Keep up the great work.